If you're in New York today, you may be wondering why every journalist is walking around breathing into a paper sack. It's because Donald Trump is giving a major televised address about the border. Whatever he says, you know it'll be fact-checked by liberal journalists who, under Obama, were mysteriously AWOL. But none of it matters to Nancy and Chuck, or Chancey, who've made the political personal. After all, if you had agreed to what Trump wants many times before, why are you rejecting it now? The border's only gotten worse since Democrats said this.
American people are fundamentally pro-legal immigration and anti-illegal immigration.
I voted numerous times when I was a senator to spend money to build a barrier.
We simply cannot allow people to pour into the United States undetected, undocumented, unchecked.
But now their story has changed. Why? Has the situation improved? Hardly. But they recalculated. They can agree with Trump or decide that that is worse than human trafficking and drug smuggling. In 2016, more than 20,000 unaccompanied children were stopped at the Mexican border, a 102% jump from the previous year. We don't know how many got past the Border Patrol and ICE, but that won't matter to Chancey, because human trafficking may be bad, but not as bad as cooperating with someone they hate. But this inaction isn't new. In 2014, Obama was criticized when in 1 month, more than 10,000 unaccompanied kids were stopped and released at the border, a doubling from the previous year. The Dems were criticized for ignoring the warnings, just as they should be criticized now. It was an emergency then, and the Dems did nothing. Now Trump's actually trying to do something, and they're just standing in the way. Why? They hate him. They can't let him win, even if it saves lives of women and children, which is why the only wall you're going to see is Chuck and Nancy. All right, I guess we should just go around the horn here, as they say.
Oh, okay.
I'll start with you, Dana.
Oh, okay.
Oh, it's a lovely color.
Thank you.
Well, we're all wearing a little bit
It's very collaborative. Collaborative?
Oh, just stop it. What should he say tonight?
Well, this is a big deal. If you think of the communications toolbox of a president,
I do.
This is the hammer.
Ah.
Right? It's the strongest tool, and he hasn't used it heretofore. So he is obviously, this is like his most important issue. He thinks this is the one thing that he wants to address the nation from the Oval Office on, and so there's significance in that. It's an 8-minute speech, so you got to pack a big punch into 8 minutes. It's his chance to talk to all Americans, right? It's not a campaign rally.
True.
This is a chance for him to do all of that. I don't know what he can say that will move the needle. I looked at polling from December 2016 to December 2018. We have talked about the wall and immigration nonstop for 2 years, and still opposition to the wall is 54%. It hasn't changed at all. So can he do something tonight in these 8 minutes to make a difference? It's possible.
Interesting. Jesse, what are your thoughts on this matter?
Well, maybe the opposition to the wall is how you phrase the question in the polling. I think when you talk about border security and fencing and things like that, you get a different answer. I think the media isn't scared that he's going to tell lies. I think the media is scared he's going to tell the truth, and the American people are going to listen, and he's going to be persuasive. Because, as you said, these are very powerful speeches. It's his first one from the Oval Office. People are saying there's not a crisis. It's funny, because this is from the Washington Post, Dana.
Yes.
Just a few days ago. After years of Trump's dire warnings, a, quote, crisis has hit the border, but generates little urgency. And this is by their chief national security correspondent and chief border security correspondent. They say record numbers, migrant families streaming into the United States, overwhelming border agents, and leaving holding cells dangerously overcrowded.
What's the date on that? What's the date?
This is January 5th.
All right. Can I this is from December 16th. 2015. Unaccompanied minors are crossing the U.S. southwest border in growing numbers again, sparking concerns that the new influx of children would eventually approach levels that last year prompted the Obama administration to declare a humanitarian crisis.
And so here's why it's different, because it used to be Mexican adult males coming. You catch them and you send them right back. Now it's adults with children coming from Central America, and legally you can't hold them together. Politically you can't separate them. And you can't send them back quickly. And there's about 60,000 coming across each month. Now, we've declared crises, the left and the media, I mean, we had a global warming crisis. We had an income inequality crisis. How many people did that kill, Juan? I mean, opioid crisis, student loan crisis. And, you know, you can make emergency declarations.
Don't forget the financial crisis.
Right, financial crisis. But look at this, school shooting crisis, okay? Everybody would agree that that's a crisis. Last year, 29 people were killed at school shootings. In 1 year alone, just in Texas, there were 32 illegal aliens convicted of homicides. That's just in one state. It's more deadly in this situation than it is in almost any other situation.
One, to Jesse's pointing out that he's going against the common assumptions on other networks that there is no crisis. Do you agree with Jesse? Which I think you should.
And the Washington Post.
Nope. In fact, I don't understand how people who are smart and capable and thoughtful would even not see through this charade. This the only crisis
well, the Washington Post said it's a crisis.
I tell you what, I'll just say this.
Was Obama, was Obama stupid?
No, Obama didn't declare a national crisis. Tonight, when the president speaks, one of the options in his toolbox, as Dana said, is that he would declare that this is a national crisis, and apparently that would give him some powers, and he could try to take money out of the defense budget and the like. But is this 9/11? Is this Pearl Harbor? Is this the 09, recession, depression? No, this is nothing. The invasion from the people who were in the caravan before the midterms, did we see them exactly invade the United States? No.
Yeah, but two children died.
Oh, please. So what we have is, by the way, the numbers are pretty clear. Apprehensions at the border are going down, 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 down. In fact, the president and Sarah Huckabee Sanders were saying over the weekend, 4,000 people, these terrorist attacks. They said, no, not true.
So nothing should get done,
well, no,
just like what happened in 2015. It's exactly what Dem said.
No,
nothing gets done.
In fact, I think what we've seen is Border Patrol did apprehend a terrorist at the border once. It wasn't the Mexican border, though. It was back in the 90s. It was at the Canadian border.
Yeah, but there are others
to me, the big news is here, the president's finally starting to talk about a humanitarian crisis, because I think that's where he can get out of his box. He is in a box right now, a political box of his own making, and the way that he's trying to get out of it was, can I use this tool? Can I use that tool? Maybe if he starts talking about the humanitarian suffering of people who are coming to this country and how we properly deal with it and comprehensive immigration reform.
I think he's tried to do that, Emily, but when you're constantly called a bigot for trying to create a stronger border, it's often a challenge when you have the entire media against you.
Absolutely, and I'll explain to you on how a capable and thoughtful individual does think that this is a profound crisis, which is the legal bar for this situation and for declaring a national emergency, which we don't know if he's going to declare or not, but this is how. For everyone on the left who is saying that there is some type of geographical situs containment that happens at the border, that's not true. For all the points that the Dems say that they care about or that they do care about, they are all directly attributable to the southern border. So the opioid epidemic, for example, that kills 75,000 Americans per year, where do we think that comes from? What about drugs? Where do we
most drugs don't come over the southern border.
Can I just finish, please? Because actually there's a significant amount of increase of heroin and opioids that do flow over the southern border in addition to the fentanyl. And I just want to point out the fact that, for example, human trafficking, which people throw around lightly, that's the third largest criminal international industry on the planet, behind only drugs and arms. That is a $32 billion industry. And guess who pledged $50 million of our tax dollars to combat it this year? Our DOJ. How is that not directly affecting every single person? And what is a profound crisis? The criminal justice reform that everyone on the left, and hopefully the right too, is supporting, and talks about a disparate impact to minorities, to low-income communities. Where do we think the currency of these gangs and the low-income communities are coming from? There is so much more. There are so many interwoven things that are, again, attributable to that southern border. Yes, to me, it is absolutely a profound threat.
Well, I'm going to leave on that because we got to move on. Well done, Emily, for summarizing it.